Welcome back to another episode of This Takes the Cake. We're super excited and honored. We have our first guest speaker on the episode today, and I want to introduce you to my good friend, Ryan Robinson. He is with Global Truth Entertainment, and we're really excited to have you.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we'll just go dive right on in. Tell me what you do, Ryan.
I own a DJ lighting production company here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We travel all around South Carolina, North Carolina, anywhere in the region. We'll travel anywhere anybody wants to take us. And yeah, we mainly specialize in weddings and private events, corporate events, stuff like that. We do some public events, but not a whole lot. So
Awesome. And how long you been doing this for?
So Sara wants to age me right off the bat, and that's
How old are you?
That is totally fine. That is totally fine. Off and on for 22 years, but full time for 12. So I took like a little break in the middle when I moved here from Iowa when I was 19. I didn't get a whole lot of traction with DJing and started serving tables in Myrtle Beach like everybody else, and took a little time off, and then started back about 13 years ago. Full time though for 12 years, I believe.
So that makes you 30?
30 years old,
30?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just turned 30.
I love it.
Great with, yep, good math. Good math.
Love it. Well, I'd love to tell everybody how we met. You want to tell them?
Sure. So we met through the wedding industry for a wedding at the Ocean Club. I don't know the exact year, but it'd have to be probably right around 12 years ago. Yep. And so we had a wedding there, and then we
He looked way different.
I had dreadlocks down past my butt, just so everybody knows.
And he always wore a hat.
And I always wore like a little hat, a little Thomas Hart little hat. A little shout out to Thomas. So he probably didn't know that shout out was coming, but I always had like a little hat on to cover up the top. But yeah, I had dreadlocks down past my butt, and we had three events right away. We had actually her brother's wedding.
We did, yes.
Probably 6 months into knowing each other. Mm-hmm. And we had a pretty memorable, our second event that we had together was pretty memorable at the Dunes Club with Fancy and Carl. So,
yeah. Fancy and Carl's definitely a memorable wedding for sure. All right, well, we're going to fast forward 12 years, Ryan, through all the weddings, events, and everything that we've done. We were so lucky, and we got to create what you call the Grand Strand Bridal Expo. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about that and maybe some fun few surprises and things that we can look forward for 2024.
Yeah, so we filled in a space here in Myrtle Beach. There was a little void that needed to be filled, and last year we started the Grand Strand Bridal Expo together and teamed up ourselves along with the amazing, stunning, and brilliant team. And I don't think that we could have done it without everybody's help. And we have
absolutely
an amazing team with the Grand Strand Bridal Expo, and super excited to where this is gonna go.
So the show is going to be on a Saturday this year,
correct?
January 20th, 2024. And we're super excited, obviously, for the next big expo. But I really want to talk about the importance of vendors and the relationship of people doing this show.
Absolutely. So, and people ask me this all the time, even before the show was ours and we started our show. Is it really worth it? How many weddings do you book from it? And I can attest, even before the show is ours, that there's going to be times where you may not be booking 30 shows, 30 events from the show. The value of the show is 100% the relationships that you build with the other vendors. And there's no price tag that you can put on that. Your value is going to be long-standing, so it's going to be the communications that you have with the other vendors and the relationships that you build with them, and that is what is going to grow your business and grow your company. And yeah,
absolutely. No, I agree 100%. I actually got my first wedding from the actual show here in Myrtle Beach 13 years ago, and I never really thought, I had a cute little booth. It was actually really ugly. And
it was nice. It was nice. It was quaint.
It was quaint. And, it was I didn't know what I was doing, but I was interacting with vendors and the relationships, and that's really how I was able to actually get my first wedding. So with the show being on a Saturday, I think it's going to be a really convenience for all the out-of-town, couples to come into town and be here and then be able to get back on Sunday.
Yep.
So.
And they can take a long weekend if they like to, enjoy Myrtle Beach for an extra day. Sunday shows are always great. We typically have them on Sundays here at the beach and here on the Grand Strand area, but this year is going to be pretty awesome. We're going to have it on a Saturday. We have had it on a Saturday 2 other times, and it worked out great. But, yeah, it's going to be awesome having it on a Saturday this year in January.
Yep, and it's from 1 to 5, and I believe it's still $12 for early bird for your tickets, and then $18 at the door.
Myrtle Beach Convention Center.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about the vendors that want to be involved with the expo. Yeah. Especially if you're new into the industry and you're looking, I have people call me all the time, I've got a venue or I'm thinking about doing this. First thing I tell them is I got to come do the expo.
Absolutely.
That's where I started. It's where everybody's got to start. So.
And some people are nervous about like how big of a booth to get. If you just even have our single booths, your presence is there. And that single 10 by 10 booth, you may only think that it's only a 10 by 10 area, but you are a part of this show that takes up an entire convention floor.
And over 1,000 attendees we had last year.
1,000 attendees. And
surely you can lock in one of those.
Exactly. One event is going to take care of the cost of the show, and now you are networking with 150 other vendors for free. And you get to spend 2 days with them.
And we're never all together.
Yeah. It's one of the few times all year that we are
We kind of were at the Barbie party.
Yeah. Barbie party was awesome. And so, yes, the Barbie party for the expo was amazing.
That was super awesome. Let's talk a little bit about sponsorship and things like that to be a part of the expo. I always have people ask me, what can I do?
So we do have a couple of sponsorship opportunities for anybody that wants to do something outside of just having their booth space. We have social media, extra social media. We have website. We have our Wed Talks, which is something that we'll probably talk about in another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can actually go to our website, thegrandstrandbridalexpo.com, and you can actually see the Wed Talks from last year.
Yes,
Those
correct.
are on there.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the exhibitors from last year, the ones that have already signed up for this year. There's lots of opportunities between, like you just said, website, social media, billboards, the Wed Talks, all different opportunities. If you really want to take it to the next level, with the expo, it's the best opportunity. You get all the potential couples, clients coming there. And then obviously, like you said, all the vendors. And that's a huge thing.
And one thing that Sara just mentioned was our billboard. So we have extra billboard space that we are also doing for special sponsorship. So contact us for those as well.
Absolutely. All right, let's dive into some fun things about DJing. Sound good?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
All right, we're going to do a little game, and it's going to be called Rapid Fire Questions.
Oh, gosh, here we go.
And just really what comes to your mind instinct.
Okay. 11.
23. Most popular first dance song?
Probably an Ed Sheeran song. Perfect, something like that. Overall, for the 12 years, I'd probably say that. Right now, it's going to be a couple different country songs, most definitely.
Right.
But overall, the 12 years, probably an Ed Sheeran song.
Okay, I love that. What is a go-to song when the dance floor is dead?
For me and my company, it's probably going to be a slow song, and that way we can get everybody to the dance floor. It's a technique to kind of trick everybody to the dance floor, but during dinner and cocktail hours, we're also learning like what everybo's tapping their feet to and what they're kind of vibing to. So every wedding is so different, but we would probably pick up on one of those. If not, at some point we're gonna play a Pitbull song and get everybody out there.
I love it. Love it. Favorite song to play last, or favorite song to play?
I mean, Pitbull is
it's a go-to.
God's gift to DJs. Most Pitbull songs are great for parties. But Don't Stop Believing is probably going to be my favorite last song of the night.
I like that one
Correct.
too.
It's a good way to kind of get everybody together. I have my own like little ways to influence the song in the middle, and where I like to give shout outs and things like that. And it's just a good high note. on the way out. But
For sure.
with that being said, there are going to be other songs that brides and grooms suggest or request for their last song that are awesome. Even times where I think it's a great song, it's cool, and I'm going to play it, and it's going to be great, and I'm blown away with how awesome it is. And it's just kind of situational. So every wedding is totally different, like I said. And so those songs, I like to be blown away. Like, wow, this was an awesome way to end the night.
Absolutely. And on that note, we had a wedding. It was in Charleston. It's been a few years ago. And I really remember this last song that they played. And I remember I had it on my timeline, like, this is just really weird. And it was the song, I'd Walk 500 Miles.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Who sings that? Do you know? I don't know.
The Pretenders.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is a good one.
Yeah.
I'd never had someone play that for the end. So that was definitely
And that would be
one.
an awesome last song with the right crowd.
The right crowd.
So, yeah.
No, for sure.
But those people probably loved it, right?
They loved it.
Yeah.
Least favorite song to play?
Least favorite song to play would probably be any song that's going to clear the dance floor. But there's times where we're going to be playing those songs. We don't do a whole lot of line dance songs if we don't need to. But
Do people really request those anymore?
some do, and some are very anti-line dance songs, and that's totally cool, and I totally understand why, and we try not to even have to play those at all. Sometimes they're necessary as a part of the flow of the night, especially when there's 20 people that are requesting them throughout the night. Right. So if the guests want that, then I want that for the guests. But if the bride and groom do not want it, then we're not going to play it because they're the boss. I mean, the bride is the boss, but if they don't want to play it, then we don't play it. So
right. All right. What would you say about taking requests? Yay, nay?
I'm totally cool with taking requests. We may not be able to play them in the night just
Based
because
of
the client's request. And one thing that people forget about a lot is that we only have a set amount of time, and time is going to dictate what we do. If the clients like 3 weeks, a month beforehand have given us their list of what they would like to hear, which is what we want, and there's not like a lot of room for requests, then we'll take them and we'll try to squeeze them in, but there may be times that we can't. And a lot of times guests maybe don't understand the reason why. Well, the reason why is because of whose day it is, and we've already filled out that time. And so we're trying to navigate that time the best that we can. So.
Has the client ever given you so many songs you couldn't play them all?
Absolutely. So
like how many?
And like even for this weekend, it's not a wedding, so I can throw under the bus a little bit, but I have 300 songs that I wanted 30.
What?
So they gave me 300 songs. I'm gonna go.
Apparently, they missed math class.
Yeah, I'm gonna scrub through
300 songs at 3 minutes apiece.
Correct. Yeah, which is fine. I can go through that list and see what their style is that they like, and try to play the majority of those.
And did they send you like a Spotify list, or did they text it?
Apple Music list.
Apple Music list.
Yeah,
okay.
which is totally fine. We find our ways to navigate through those larger lists. I rarely like a wedding where it's just open. I'd like to get something from them because I don't want it to look like my day. I want it to look like their day. So I at least want 10, 15, 20, 30 songs. But 300 is not going to be able to be played.
Now, have you ever had a wedding where they didn't give you any songs or requests?
Absolutely. And those weddings, I mean, we have our.
Did they at least give you the first dance song?
Yes. Oh, we can't do a wedding without a first. I can't pick out your first dance song. That's one thing. Like your bridal march, your first dance song. If we're doing parent dances, those type of stuff, those have to be given to us. I can't really pick those out for you because they're just going to be intimate. But beyond that, I can fill in 5 hours of music. It's no problem. But I like to get a little bit to reflect the bride and groom. So
of course.
Yeah.
What would you say the hardest part of your job is?
Maybe balancing that. Maybe balancing the
Figuring
music.
out the music.
Yeah, because also, like from a point of view, we do this every Saturday. We do this every single weekend. So we do have knowledge of what is going to typically, based on what we've seen, work on a dance floor. So there are so there are times where we're given requests, even if it's from brides and grooms, where we know it's going to kill the dance floor. And so trying to navigate that, I guess, would be maybe one of the hardest jobs, and being able to tell the clients in their best interest to trust us. And 90% of clients do trust us with that because this is our profession. But
yes. All right, a question I've always wanted to know: how many songs do you have? Or like if someone was
I don't know.
I mean, is it like 10,000? Is it like
it's way more
20?
than that. It's
okay.
I mean, it's gonna be like. Oof.
I mean, I can't even name 10 songs.
So what we're going to do on this episode of the podcast, we're going to come back to you later, and Ryan's going to give you guys the number of how many songs are in his library. If I had my computer here, I would tell you, but I mean, we're talking about like 100 gigs of music. So
oh wow,
yeah. So I don't know exactly.
And do you always need Wi-Fi at all of your events?
Oh, I never need Wi-Fi.
You don't need Wi-Fi.
No. Well, we do need Wi-Fi for non-music related events. So we do need Wi-Fi or good cell service connection for photo booths, basically. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know that you offer other things, obviously, other than DJing, but uplighting, photo booth, those type of things. What would you say is your favorite extra element of the reception?
Favorite extra element. Well,
I love the CO2 cannons.
When I first that's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
So we have spark fountains, and they're awesome, but there's some restrictions on when we can use those. CO2 cannons typically are not. We're actually probably going to get heavy into trying to push those a lot more in the next 6 months to a year. So we'd like to use the CO2 cannons a lot more. Every demographic though is different, and every market is different. The CO2 cannons probably is not as popular in this market, but hopefully we can change that soon. Our favorite is going to be our new LED video walls. So we have video walls.
Those are badass.
We have video walls that we like to do we had it at the Bridal Expo, and we are starting to use it for some corporate events, and we are going to integrate those into our weddings a ton.
And I want to do one behind the band.
Yes. So we'll do them behind the band. We're going to have intros. We're going to have moving video walls at some point. So the video walls will actually open and move for grand introductions, I believe. And yeah, we have a whole bunch of cool stuff coming in the future with our video walls. That's going to be my favorite. Up until now, 12 years ago, I knew that uplighting and wireless uplighting, it was going to be a game changer in this market because nobody was really doing it that much, except for Kyle Gore. Shout out to Kyle Gore. And so we wanted to do that and make that like our staple and our thing. And so wireless uplighting was definitely a game changer and set us apart from all the other companies in the area. Now it's going to be everybody's going to have wireless uplighting, and that's awesome, and that's great for the industry. So with that being said, now our new jam is going to be the video walls for sure.
I love it. They look really good. So Ryan, tell me one of your most memorable weddings.
Most memorable weddings.
Or one you can think of.
So there's probably going to be like 20 or 30 at this point. We've probably done, actually, I have no clue.
Do you know how many weddings you've done?
Over 500, between 500 and 1,000. I don't know the exact number. I probably should know that exact number, but again, we're gonna get back to you on the exact.
You got a lot of homework to do.
We're gonna get back to you on the exact number, but we had Amanda Babb's wedding with.
Oh, how could I forget?
That was good.
That was memorable.
So some weddings are memorable for certain. Every wedding is gonna be memorable for different reasons. But we did have an awesome wedding, and it was an awesome wedding.
It really was. It was beautiful.
But it was
before the rain.
It was it before the hurricane came, or was it?
It was after.
It was right after a hurricane came.
It was the year of 1,000 floods.
Yes. That's right. So there was the hurricane, and then it was 2 weeks. It was the next week.
The next week.
So it was the next week later, and we had more rain and flooding, and the venue was at her parents' house, and on this.
Dad had worked so hard on it. He did so much landscaping, getting it so perfect.
And I mean, this was acres of land and a huge property, and they built like different structures specifically for the wedding. and then the hurricane came, and then the flooding came, and so there was not any grass left. It was pretty much.
It was all mud.
It was. We'll say what it is. It was mud.
The dance floor was covered in mud.
The dance floor was covered in mud.
She had an ombre dress in the night.
Yes, it was a brown to white ombre dress. But with that being said, the couple was amazing.
They were so awesome.
The bride just took it as what it was. At the end of the day, they both said I do. They both got to drink, eat, and be with their loved ones, and we partied and we danced. And at the end of the night, I had Stunning and Brilliant girls helping. I had Thomas Heart Media helping. Brooke Crystal was a photographer. Her and her mom were helping. Everybody's helping me take my gear over all the mud to get to dry land, and I'll never forget that. I literally had to have one of the good old boys at the wedding.
Did you get stuck?
He had to go and get my truck and mud through to bring my.
They were towing
over.
people out of there.
Yeah, they were towing people.
They were stuck.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that. So, just as a reference, it's one of the few weddings where all of my power cables were literally draped onto things so that they wouldn't touch any of the water or the mud. I probably shouldn't sell myself out on that, but we got through it, and the dance floor was busy all night. The bride was dancing. Even she tied up her dress, and she had a half brown, half white dress.
Good rain boots. Oh, she got me a wedding gift. She bought me rain boots.
Yep. And actually I had to borrow rain boots from Dad. Dad gave me some rain. And
Charlie.
Yeah,
Charlie was his name.
Luckily they had extra rain boots and stuff. I mean, not like for everybody, but they did have some. So I'll never forget that wedding. I mean, it was raining during the ceremony.
It was.
It was not raining until like right before the ceremony. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we had like a pump and everything, a couple of pumps to pump out the water.
Mm-hmm.
But the dance floor was also pretty muddy. So sorry, Event Works.
We'll have to show you guys the aftermath photo of the next day.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Yes. And the morning of, there was grass, and it was beautiful.
It was, yeah, we have a photo.
It was
before.
beautiful. And not saying that the wedding wasn't beautiful, because it was.
It was.
But yeah, actually, there was a super cool tent that you guys had for the ceremony.
They had the round
one for the ceremony.
Sailcloth tent. Yeah, that was
pretty
really cool. Mm-hmm. Any other memorable weddings that you've done?
I mean, there's been.
Did you say you did one in Mexico?
Did one in Mexico. Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
So those were for friends of mine in Mexico. I'll never forget that wedding. That was pretty memorable. We haven't had a whole lot. Actually, that's our only one out of the country. So anybody that wants to get married out of the country, you feel free to take me wherever you like. But we've done some out of state, but not a whole lot. And that Mexico wedding is probably pretty memorable. It was January, and it was still beautiful, absolutely beautiful and gorgeous in Mexico.
All right, if you weren't a DJ, what would you be doing?
All right, so this is the part of the show where we flip it on Sarah. Sarah, if you weren't a DJ, what would you be? Or if you weren't a wedding planner, what would you be doing?
I bet no one knows.
Oh, I think I can guess. What do you
private investigator.
No, get out of here.
I love a challenge.
And she succeeds.
Oh, we could tell some good stories.
No, we won't get into those. So, yeah, if I wasn't DJing, I'd probably do something production. I mean, I know it's kind of the same lines as DJing.
Would you put on like a concert or something?
Oh, so that is what I really want. The reason why I moved to Myrtle Beach when I was 19 was to get closer to a university in Florida called Full Sail University, and I wanted to do.
I know where that in Florida.
Yeah, yep. So I wanted to get closer to that. I thought I was spending a summer in Myrtle Beach. That didn't happen. Here I am 20 years later.
And where did you move from? From
Iowa.
Where's that?
It's in the middle of the country, dead center of the country.
Don't they have corn there?
We have corn there, a lot of corn. So I would probably do something production-wise, front of house sound, or heavy into lighting and stuff, maybe theater production, stuff like that. Beyond that, I don't know what else I'd be doing, but this is definitely like my passion and my love. So maybe planning. I mean, event planning seems like an easy
So easy.
Easy world. So I honestly, I do love logistics and figuring out logistics and planning and stuff. And I, sometimes do have to fill in the event planning role when you great ladies are not there.
So how does that work when you don't have a planner? Like, do you line them up and tell them when you're going to do the dance?
Then it's just a case. I mean, it's always a case of all the vendors coming together to make the day smooth and transition smooth. It's just way easier to do that when we have a planner and somebody in charge, or else we have to come away from our console and it's just a lot more work. But when there isn't a planner, we just have to get through it with the other vendors and come through. But it's obviously way easier with you lovely ladies. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting next to me right now, but there's a lot of stress.
Try to make it easier.
There's not a lot of stress, a lot less stress, obviously, on the vendors, but especially on the bride and groom when there's somebody that is in charge. There is no question who's going to make the call on this or who's going to make the call. We have somebody to go to. We can talk to, text to. When are we going to do this? Are we still going to do it like this? Okay, the entire we can't use this entire room now for the wedding. What are we going to do? We're going to go upstairs, or we're going to come downstairs. Oh, that's another wedding that was the last year during the hurricane where we set up. We didn't have power at Debadoo, and so
that was crazy.
We set everything up outside with the generator.
The band hated me.
And no, they did not hate you. But
I'm like, what's it going to cost for y'all to unpack and move to the third floor?
So, I mean, how long before the ceremony? 10 minutes before the ceremony?
It wasn't far. Yeah.
10 minutes before the ceremony, all of a sudden we got power.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there wasn't power in a lot of South Carolina at this time. So, because of a hurricane. So, we did everything wireless battery power uplights to uplight the venue to be able to use facilities, restrooms, and things like that. And, we're just going to have everything outside with generators. And we had everything ready to go. And 10 minutes before the ceremony was still outside. We did the ceremony. And then during the ceremony, band went upstairs. And actually, I think I filled in to play some music while they transitioned. And again, it's just a matter of all the vendors coming together to make it happen. And how happy was that bride and groom, or that whole entire family? Mom and dad were so happy. So happy.
They really thought they weren't going to have a wedding.
Yeah. Well, at one point we were maybe not going to have the wedding.
I mean, they were flooded in at the place that they were getting ready.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guys gonna get a boat?
Right. And it was just a matter of whether we were allowed to have the wedding too. So.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Remember the fridge and freezers went out.
So
we had to go to the local grocery store and get food.
So we have to come up with a solution. I mean, there wasn't refrigeration, and then on the flip side of that, it takes a while for the stoves to get going, and
the prepping
and all that, and
it was a plated dinner.
And that team at the venue did a kick-butt job.
They killed it.
It was a big team effort and everybody knew their roles and executed on their roles. And
it was awesome.
It was awesome. That's a pretty memorable one.
That's sure.
For sure. I'll never forget about
Definitely. That one. I do want to go back because this is always something I always think of. What is like the craziest, like I think from your job, like, when you get a sheet of paper and look at names, you're like, oh my God, how do you say these names? Mm-hmm. Like, do you know of like the craziest name you've ever had or one you've had to pronounce?
Probably yes, but I can't remember exactly what it was. There's so many syllables, but it was something probably like 2 weeks ago. It was Russian. Oh. It was a Russian name. I asked her what her.
They have like every alphabet in their name.
Yeah,
letter. Sorry.
Every letter of the alphabet in there. And it was a lot. I mean, you're just taking it into parts, and so it was like 4 or 5 syllables. But after she said it to me, and I said it a couple times, she said, "You have it. You got it." And then right before we did the introductions, I had to go back to her just one more time, and she's like, "Yeah, it's good. You got it." And I think that I got it.
Would you say that's maybe the hardest part? And sometimes the names. Or announcing them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And we will retype the names. How
you spell it.
Yeah, so it's going to be prophetic, exactly how we're going to pronounce it. So at the end of the day, I don't even want to know like the regular spelling of it. I'm going to change it to how it's going to be pronounced. And so if they see it on a card, I just apologize and say, I'm sorry, you wrote your name the wrong way. This is how you're supposed to write it.
Right.
I'm just joking.
Like we have Casey in Charlotte, but she spells it Cassie.
Correct.
So everybody calls her Cassie.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
So I get it. All right, I do have one last question I'd like to close out with. What advice would you give to your couples for DJing?
To couples for their wedding, the biggest piece of advice I would have to say is if you want the most people on the dance floor is to be on the dance floor yourselves. That is, everybody is there for you. So
that's a good one.
So there are times where we're kind of in competition with ourselves as far as time goes because we have a photo booth or a 360 booth. If it's in the same room, it works out way better because there's less travel for people to just be if they're in the photo booth, they hear their favorite song, they can just move 10, 15 feet, go to the dance floor and start dancing. If it's in a different room, it's a lot harder to push and pull people between the two rooms because we don't ever want the dance floor empty and the photo booth packed or the photo booth empty and the dance floor packed. We'd like to have a nice little balance there.
And you always want the DJ near the dance floor, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Have you ever had a wedding where they didn't put you?
Yeah, so a couple things. So if you want the best guest experience and you want all your guests on the dance floor, be on the dance floor yourself. That doesn't mean to not go to the photo booth. But again, the logistics and the layout of the room matter a ton. Always, always, always have your entertainment, whether it's a DJ, myself, or another DJ company, and the bar close to the dance floor. Specifically, the entertainment or a band or a DJ squared, centered to the dance floor if it's possible in a room. Bar nearby and photo booth nearby. That way people aren't having to travel like to another room. If the bar is in another room, that is going to be a huge hurdle and huge obstacle for a smooth, successful night. That I will say, the couple of spots, couple of venues where the bar is in another room, that's a huge
only
hurdle.
Just because that's how it's designed.
Well, because the place was not designed 40 years ago for weddings. Yeah. So, and that happens, and we find our ways around that. But definitely, if you can, have the bar in the same room as the entertainment. Again, whether that's the band or a DJ or whatnot. So
I agree. Cool.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Ryan. We're super excited for you to be our first guest on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to give more information where people can find you. Where can they find you?
So our website?
Yeah, website, Instagram.
Website is going to be globaltruthentertainment.com. Instagram is going to be Global Truth. And Facebook is also Global Truth. Anything Global Truth that you search is probably going to come up. It's pretty niche there. Global Truth DJing in Myrtle Beach. You'll be able to Google us or find us that way.
And where did the name come from?
The name came from a promotion company that we had doing promotion work for a lot of reggae bands in the United States, and we would travel around promoting those, and it was Global Truth Promotions. And I was asked to DJ for a friend's wedding about 14 years ago, before I started doing this full time in Georgia. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. We did that. And when I came back, I was like, man, I want to do this. I had to come up with a name. And so I just piggybacked off the Global Truth Promotions and started Global Truth Entertainment. And here we are.
I learned something new. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us. It was great for Ryan to be on here. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
See you.